going to come to that fiber. And so where that nerve, whatever that length is, wherever that nerve comes into that fiber, that's your neuromuscular junction, because it's the end of the nerve meeting that muscle fiber. And there's only one per fiber, per cell. Now, here's the other thing that's going to be a little hard to think about until we start studying the nervous system. The nervous system, the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. We'll use the one I wrote. Okay? Now remember me break it. Gotta find a better way. Okay. My brain, my spinal cord. It's termed central for a reason, because that's encased in bone. Okay? Is everybody following me? Along the spinal cord, where we've got vertebra, 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 the connection from one vertebra to the next, okay? It has a bunch of holes in it. Transverse ones specifically, okay? And from the spinal cord exit spinal nerves. This is your peripheral nervous system. This is your central. Everything that exits out of those vertebrae is your peripheral, because it goes to the periphery of the body. Does that make sense? Now here's the other thing that's going to be a little confusing. We say, or we talk about it as having the sensory nerve or the motor nerve. Now let me just give a brief explanation, okay? We know that information has to go here and here to be processed, right? Okay? So, if I have all these spinal nerves going all throughout the body, the nerves are picking up sensory information. They're picking up information such as light, sound, heat, cold, pain, pressure, touch. That is sensory. Think about your senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, sound, not hearing. Okay? Touch. That's sensory. Does that make sense? And that information needs to move into the central nervous system. And if a response is needed, it sends the response out. The response that is sent out, a lot of that response goes to a skeletal muscle. And it makes the skeletal muscle move. So therefore, information that goes out goes by way of a motor nerve. Does that make sense? Because it makes it do something. And if you think about a motor makes something run. Okay? So therefore, skeletal muscle, we're going to find the response comes by way of the motor nerve. In other words, whatever the information was that went in, and it required a response from skeletal muscle, the response reaches that neuromuscular junction by way of a motor nerve. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Okay, don't worry, because we're going to keep talking about that. So, when we talk about the neuromuscular junction, it's going to be where the terminal end of a motor nerve and the muscle cell it innervates meets.
Can you say that again? We're a terminal.
Can't remember exactly what I just said. Now,
It was good.
when we talk about the neuromuscular junction, that is the area where the terminal end of a motor nerve and its muscle cell that it innervates meets. How far did you get, Maureen?
Terminal end and
It's where the terminal end of the motor nerve and the muscle cell or fiber that it meets, that it innervates meet. That is your neuromuscular junction. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Young, by innervate, is that meaning the nerve in it when you're
The
saying
nerve
innervate?
meets it.
Okay.
Okay.
That means innervate.
So when I say because from this point forward, you're going to hear me use that term a lot. Okay. Innervation. All right. So when I say innervation, that's the point where a nerve meets something. And for our purposes right now, where it meets the skeletal cell fiber, skeletal muscle cell. And then, of course, we've got all those little capillary beds. Blood flow. Now, in this muscle fiber, we're going to have, like I said, the fact, it's going to be multinucleated. We're going to find the myofibrils. Myo meaning muscle, fibrils meaning filaments. So we're going to find these filaments. In the muscle cell, the cytoplasm is now termed sarcoplasm. So those filaments are going to be in the sarcoplasm, which is the cytoplasm of that cell. They are very thread-like. They are made up of proteins. One is thick, one is thin. So we're going to have myosin and actin. And when you have myosin and actin doing this, that area that they make up is going to be a sarcomere. A sarcomere is the functional unit of muscle fibers. The sarcomere is the functional unit of muscle fibers.
And that's where the actin and
And
myosin.
that's where we're gonna have an overlapping of the actin and the myosin. So this is how it's gonna break down. It's gonna break down from the muscle as a whole, down to a fascicle, down to the muscle fiber, down to these filaments that are going to make it up, and the proteins overlapping, and from one area of the dark to the light banding, from one to one is a sarcomere. So this would be a sarcomere, 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 this would be a sarcomere. Is everybody following me?
Mm-hmm.
And if we take and look at one sarcomere, this is the overlapping of the thick and the thin that we see. So we have our thick myosin, our thin actin. That grouping is from what's termed a Z disc to a Z disc. This would be one sarcomere. So if sarcomere, 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 Z disc, Z disc, Z disc, Z disc, Z disc, Z disc. Is everybody following me?
Mm-hmm.
And sarcomeres are what make the muscle elastic.
This is what is going to shorten and make that muscle contract.
Okay.
Now, I think at this point, your heads are blowing up. Because you're wondering, Dr. Young, why? Why are you getting down to this detail? Go ahead, tell me. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank y'all for admitting.
Oh wait, wait.
Yeah,
Never mind.
it's okay. Go ahead. You're all questioning why I'm getting you to this point.
I thought you were asking us why.
Well, why am I,
Because
Isaac?
it's clinically important. You know, like if you can understand it at this level, then you can understand it really anywhere.
Because guess what's going to happen right here? What? What's all the stuff that we've seen throughout this entire time that we've been together? We've seen ions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Calciums, magnesiums, potassiums, sodiums. Guess what is going to make the overlap function?
Ion.
Ions.
because isn't in between each synapse like an electrical charge?
That's going to be for the cardiac muscle, because in the cardiac muscle, where we've got the intercalated discs, okay, that's going to allow electricity to pass in the intercalated disc.
Okay.
It's going to be a little different for the skeletal muscle.
Skeletal muscles. Glycogen.
Well, we are going to definitely need the source, because it'll store glucose that's not used in the form of glycogen, and that's the reason that it can pull it very quickly for energy, because we don't store ATP. And so the cell will have to make energy as it's called for. So let's say that, I'm going to tell y'all to get up, go take a break, be back at 12:30, okay? Your muscles that have been inactive, okay, are going to now get active, and they're going to need to make the energy for that. And any glucoses that it might need that's not available, they'll pull it from their cells. They'll pull it from the storage. Go take a break, be back at 12:30.